Okay, hi to everybody joining us, and thank you for joining us today for our live launch of some of our digital and outreach and blended products that we are now hosting with Field Studies Council. Thank you so much for spending the time with us this afternoon. And if you're watching us on catch up, then please do bear with us as we go through the presentations we've got today. And hopefully, if you've got any questions, please do pop those in the chat. We've got people who are answering those now. And if you are watching this as a recorded session, then there's some details at the end of how you can contact us with your questions. So I'm just going to go through a presentation with you. So as we do that, I'm just going to come live. Okay. So what we're going to do this afternoon is I'm going to just talk through the various things that we've got available now this year to support teachers. Obviously, it's a very strange time with the coronavirus outbreak and what schools are able to do. So what we've decided is we've come up with a whole suite of resources that we hope that will help schools out over the next academic year. But as we go through this as well, then obviously you might have some questions that relate to your personal circumstances, and we'll be able to do that as we go through. So what I wanted to first of all just have a look at is what FSC has been doing so far in 2020. Earlier this year, we launched one of our first major digital programs, which was Fieldwork Live, which was fantastic for us because we worked with between 377,000 and 438,000 students during that program, which was absolutely phenomenal. And from that, we also worked with a number of new teachers who were able to join us for a new teacher development program. So that was really good. And those resources are all still online so that people can use those. We've also had a virtual conference for the geography non-examined assessments earlier this year. We had a teacher conference and a student conference, which was really successful. We engaged with a large number of teachers and students for that. And we're hopefully moving forwards over the next few weeks and months, we're going to be working with the Geographical Association on their new Geo website, their Geography Education Online. We're leading a number of tutorials with them. We're also hopefully taking part in the Royal Society of Biology's online science festival this November. And we're also working with a number of universities, helping them design virtual field courses around and about different parts of the country, obviously for specific courses. So we're doing a number of these things, and a lot of these resources are online and free to use. So if you need help finding those, we'll put some links on at the end and through the chat. But also, if you have a look online, you should be able to find quite a number of these either through the FSC's YouTube channel or the FSC's website. We were really lucky through doing some of those programs that we engaged with such a large number of teachers and students that what we have designed over the last few months is a new suite of courses that are able to support schools that we hope in the right way for you at this time. What we're hoping is that the different opportunities that we've got, either running day courses at our individual centres, through our outreach and blended options where we will work with students in person, or the digital options that we've got available, there is something for all different types of budgets or personal circumstances in every school, because every school has something that might be unique or different that we're trying to make sure that we have something for you. But as I say, everything that we have done, we've tried to use teacher feedback and teacher focus groups and different evaluations from the projects that we've been carrying out to make sure we get these as close to what you need as possible. So the projects that we've got over the next few minutes we're going to go through is there's 5 different levels of package that we're offering this autumn, and I'm going to start with level 5 and then work backwards. So level 5 is what we're saying is our day learning package. Now these are our courses that we're running as day visits, as we normally would do, where we're running in a COVID secure environment, an introduction, a field course at a field location, and then some follow-up. Some of those days can be done as an extended day, so you can stay with us, have dinner, and then work into the evening and then go home, or you can do as a normal day, or in some circumstances we can do as short days as well. And those different options are available to schools, and you can inquire in the normal way at those sites, but there's more information on the FSC's website. The next two options are something new for us, which is our level 4, which is our outreach products, and level 3 is our blended. And we'll talk about those in a second, but with the outreach, what we're looking at is about us coming to you, and the blended options is where we're going to our normal fieldwork sites. Sorry, I've got to change there. Our blended packages are where we're using our normal fieldwork sites, but digital introductions and digital follow-up. And then we have a suite of digital and advanced digital packages, which means that all our courses are totally online. So as we go through, the level 5 day courses, as I say, are pretty much as you would normally expect, where groups would come to us. Our centres have been set up in a COVID secure way, so we will talk to the school in advance of coming to our site. We will do a short introduction, get outside as much as possible, and then run those days as we normally would do. There will be differences and there will be tweaks, and we will obviously have a reduced capacity as we work with different schools in different ways and restrict different parts of our buildings, but we are able to offer those courses as normal, and those sites across the UK are open for those courses, and we are very happy to discuss those with you and how we might tailor those to your specific needs. We then have our outreach level 4 as we go through, and our outreach products are, if you can't come to us, then perhaps we can come to you. So we will come to different school locations across the country, as we aware that there are some of our locations that are just too difficult to get to from some parts of the UK. So we're also looking at setting up some fieldwork hubs around the UK where schools can come to those fieldwork hubs, and we do it more as an outreach option. But we're looking at those now, and hopefully we'll be able to give you some more information of how those develop over the coming few weeks and months. But essentially, if your school wants to do some field work and you're happy for us to come to your school environment, we have the risk assessments and everything in place. We will be able to teach your field course at your school site, providing obviously there are some exceptions, but there are ways in which we can do that, and we'd be very happy to discuss how they would work for you. Our next level, our level 3 blended, is where we use existing FSC sites. So across our 20 fieldwork locations across the UK, our 20 centres, we have a number of fieldwork sites. So actually what we have here is the option where you do a digital introduction with some resources that we've already created, some video resources online. You then meet us in the field site. You don't come to our centre as such, you go to the fieldwork location. It might be a different one to which you normally use. It might be one that's closer to you, but they do already exist, and we can get them set up very easily for your individual school or college. And then at the end of the day, rather than staying to do follow-up, you go back and you do the follow-up in your own sort of environment and your own time, which suits you. So the blended option is another way of getting the fieldwork opportunity, but actually it's less time out and more of the digital wraparound. Our level 1 and 2, our digital and our advanced digital courses, are brand new for FSC, and this has been built on the successes that we had with Fieldwork Live and our conferences we've done throughout the year. These are purchased online, and what we're going to do is update these every academic year and work with more and more partners to update these resources and make them really current and what teachers hopefully need in a course. What we've done with this initial suite is we've gone through and we, for our digital products, have created a set of resources so that a teacher can introduce the field work to their class. They would then have a digital fieldwork session that's about 45 minutes to an hour in length, which was as if the students were out in the field and we would collect data and so on. And then there'll be resources to follow up. With the advanced digital, we've enhanced that so that we have done a digital introduction for you. There is the digital fieldwork session and there is a digital follow-up as well. For the digital and the advanced digital, there are some also additional enhancement modules that are like mini modules that you can bolt on to the end of your course. So some of those include GIS, so a GIS session, and where we're using Esri ArcGIS software to do that. We also have other modules. Oh, excuse me. We also have other modules, and we've got one that we're all in the making and should be finalised very shortly, which is around the GCSE unfamiliar questions that they will possibly get next summer in the exam session in May. So when students are presented with unfamiliar fieldwork questions, this is how what we're trying to do is take our digital product, and then this enhancement will focus that on those unfamiliar questions at the end. So that would fit the digital and the advanced digital products that we have. So what we want to do now is I'm going to hand over to Jo Harris. Jo is one of our lead education advisors for FSC, and she's actually going to show you some of the resources that we've got available for these different products. And then I'm going to come back to you at the end and explain about how you might want to talk to one of our team about this. Okay, so Jo, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Simon. So it's my job then to show you some of the products that we have been working really hard on over the past few months. And I guess one thing to just kind of sort of reiterate or start by saying is that obviously in an ideal situation, we would be teaching your lovely students in the real world as normal, with all the interaction that brings and the inspirational locations that we normally use. But obviously in this current climate with all the kind of uncertainty, we just needed to make sure that all of the students have that opportunity and that no one's really missing out. So that's why we're launching this suite of digital and outreach products alongside our normal standard day courses. So I'm going to share my screen and just run through a quick PowerPoint just to kind of elaborate on what Simon was saying. So I'll just be showing you some, hopefully, of the resources that we've made. So as mentioned already by Simon, there is this 5-level approach, and I'm going to chat through and give you a quick overview of some of the products on offer on those levels. I'm not going to talk about the level 5, which is the centre learning packages, because those are the normal courses that we would run at our centres, and those can be accessed through our website, so just as our normal course in any other given year. As you would. So I'm going to start by looking at the digital package. So this is designed to aid you as a teacher in delivering a virtual fieldwork experience. And here you can see the topics that we chose for the different levels and subjects. So for kind of the GCSE type level, we went for geography with urban, rivers and coasts. For 16 to 18, so A-level for most of you, geography, water, carbon, coasts, place, and then we've got an IB Sand Dunes Day. And then for the biology, we went with kind of fieldwork techniques, so that like introduction to skills, and then also rocky shores and sand dunes, because in an ideal world, if you can go anywhere, you'd want to go to a rocky shore or a sand dune, even if it has to be virtually. So the cost of this module, it says here, it's £30 per module, and that's for your school, so for your whole class or your whole year group. And what you're basically paying for is the downloadable link to the module of resources. So your school would have access to those resources for the rest of the academic year after the purchase. And as Simon said, after that, they would be taken down, because then we'll be kind of making new ones and improving and changing things as we go. So what that means is that as teachers, you're then going to be able to revisit these resources for obviously for revision purposes as you go throughout the year. And basically it's designed to deliver the basic requirements for fieldwork, whether that is at GCSE or A-level, and in both biology and geography. We haven't made any digital provision for primary. There is later on, when we look at outreach, there are primary sessions, but we didn't feel that digital would work for primary groups. So it is only from sort of 14 to 18 age group. So the resources here consist of a teacher guidance document, a pre-course task, and a pre-recorded fieldwork video that has a handout that runs alongside it, and then a follow-up guidance handout. And this is for the level 1 digital package. And so what you would then do is you would, as a teacher, lead those sessions at school using our recorded resources. And they're designed, both the digital and the advanced digital are designed to be as interactive as possible through that virtual mean, with tasks and discussions and virtual fieldwork data collection, and then data for you to work from on the follow-up. So just to give you an idea of that guidance document I mentioned, so this is an excerpt from the teacher guidance document. This one's for an A-level biology, so ecology fieldwork techniques session. And you can see that the teacher guidance documents are really just a crucial part of this offer, because they're there to ensure that you guys know what the product is, how to make the most of it, and how to utilize it effectively in order to maximize the opportunity for your students, so that you can really embed it into your course. I'll also just put up a snapshot of some of the resources. So this is a pre-course task. This one is for an A-level carbon day. And this one is from a biology sand dune day. So you can see that the pre-course tasks are there to kind of guide the students to get to the point where they can look at the fieldwork video with you, and then they can use that really to help them understand fieldwork techniques and the different skills that they're going to need. So the fieldwork video then, and I appreciate this is a still of one of the videos. This is the lovely Phil in Birmingham, and this is from a video about quality of life for GCSE geography. But the fieldwork videos are designed to deliver thoughtful, inspiring and in-depth fieldwork to students that can't go out to do it themselves. Obviously, we know that we'd all want, in an ideal world, for them to do their own data collection, but if that's not possible, then getting them to engage with fieldwork skills and to prepare them for either the biology practical skills questions that they might face, or GCSE unfamiliar fieldwork questions, or even preparing them for their own individual investigation if they're A-level geographers or moving on to A-level in the future, then this is hopefully going to really help at all of those different subjects and levels for our students or your students to get an idea of how fieldwork is going to work in this sort of new normal that we're in at the moment. And the data will be provided to go along with those videos, as well as a handout that works alongside it. And the tutors within their video will be saying, you know, pause the video to do this task, and then asking questions and kind of collating answers as they go. And the data that you get from this is specifically for the analysis and the skill practice involved in these modules. So they're not to kind of take on and do anything else with necessarily, because they're really relevant to what's been done in this video. So I'm going to momentarily stop sharing my screen because I want to pass over to Dave, who's in the background, and he's going to share a selection of snippets of the videos for some of the resources. So you're first of all going to see Robin, who's one of our tutors in Somerset, and she's going to talk to you, or a snippet of her talking about coasts, and then you'll see a bit of a video with me in it talking about Marum Grass adaptations. Okay, so I'll pass over to Dave.
Okay, so I've got some equipment with me that's going to help me measure the beach profile. I've got a tape measure. You might have seen one of these before. It's got meters on one side, inches on the other side. I've also got something called a clinometer. Now, a clinometer is basically a weighted protractor. And what this does is measure the angle. So if I look through my clinometer and look up, the numbers inside the clinometer, in my view, will go upwards. And if I look down, the numbers will become negative. So this enables me to measure angles. I've also got 2 ranging poles. Now, the idea of my ranging poles is that they give me a reference point. 2 of these blocks here, that's 1 meter, and I've got another one on top. So I've got 2 meter ranging poles, and I've got 2 of them. So how can we use this equipment to measure data on our beach profile?
Probably the most well-adapted species that we find here at the sand dune system is Marum grass. Marum grass is a xerophyte, which means that it's specifically adapted to surviving in dry conditions, but it's also just well adapted to surviving at the embryo dunes as well. So
starting at the bottom, underneath the sand here, Marum Grass has a large interconnected root system. That means that all of these blades of grass here are all connected underground. That is stabilising the sand and allowing it to get water from as wide and a deeper area as possible. But it also has rhizomes. Rhizomes are underground shoots, and this really combats that problem of being coping with sand burial, because Marum Grass growth, at least in the rhizomes, is stimulated by sand burial. So as the sand covers over the grass tops, it sends out signals to the underground shoots, which will grow along and up somewhere else. So it's lateral growth and then pops up somewhere else. And that really helps it to survive, especially in the winter when there's lots of sand coming in and covering it over. As we move up then, you've also got these in-rolled leaves. So the leaves here are almost cylindrical. They're rolled right round into a tube shape, and that's going to protect the stomata from excess transpiration by creating a kind of a layer or a little accumulation of warm, humid air inside that leaf roll, which is going to slow down the transpiration rates. Now, if you look at Marum Grass under a microscope, you can also see that stomata are sunken into pits. There's lines all the way along the inside of the leaf, and those stomata there are therefore protected from any air movement, so there's a less transpiration is going to be happening. So all of those things will help it to survive in kind of desiccation stress. On the outside of the leaf, it has a waxy cuticle. Lots of plants here have waxy cuticles, and that also is going to help to stop water loss from the plant. Now, in terms of the lack of organic matter, we also find that underneath the sand, Marum Grass has something called an association with mycorrhizal fungi. So these fungi are living on the roots, and they can actually fix nitrogen into a form that the plant can use. So all over, it is a really, really well adapted species. It's perfect for living here, and that's why it's one of the only things that is surviving.
Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea. Probably the first thing to say is that if the sound and the video weren't quite in sync on this platform, it's because they are snippets of videos. Those videos have been obviously rendered and put up in a digital platform, which means that you don't get that little kind of thing. It's because we're trying to put it through Zoom and YouTube that they might have seemed slightly out of sync, but that wouldn't happen once you'd bought them. So the other thing to just mention as well is that obviously we have we've taken quite a bit of pride in our little forays into the fieldwork video world, but we do want to just make sure that you're aware. We know it's not, you know, it's not Springwatch, it's not David Attenborough, it's not sort of like, you know, Blue Planet. We are basically trying to video what your students would get if they were with us. So it's just us talking to them and asking questions and getting them to think, rather than some kind of you know, perfectly shot and backlit and, you know, wonderful documentary. So it is very much about fieldwork videos rather than you know, any kind of documentary. So I'm going to go back and share some more of that PowerPoint now, and just move on to looking at some of the other things that we have to offer. So alongside the video then, they will get kind of the handouts to go with them. So this is an example of the A-level place handout. So it's, you know, you can see that alongside the video, they are going to be working. They're going to be having an interactive role in this and actually collecting data. And you can see here the kind of learning objectives and the justification of the location of that study, and starting to use some of those innovative fieldwork techniques like using frames and geographical lenses to investigate place. And then if you look at the GCSE package, it's much more about It's much more focused on that route to inquiry, the method, the justification, and those are the things that are going to be kind of coming up in those questions. Even if they're unfamiliar questions, they still need those skills, the skills to be able to suggest titles and the skills to be able to make justifications and kind of analyze data and evaluate ideas. So that's a kind of an idea about the digital. So then if we think about the advanced digital package, it's essentially the same as Simon said. The topics are the same and the teachers still, you're still going to get guidance documents and pre-course and the same fieldwork video. But in addition, and that's obviously why it's a higher cost, in addition, you're going to be getting a pre-recorded introduction and a pre-recorded follow-up to work from. And so that will really help to embed the fieldwork into your scheme of learning and allow you as teachers to follow through the whole investigation from start to finish. So if it's, for example, a GCSE rivers session, then starting right from the kind of planning stage all the way through to you know, how you would draw a conclusion and then evaluate that conclusion. So working all the way through, and the same with the biology A-level and the geography A-level as well. It would take you right the way through so that you can really embed that learning as a process rather than obviously doing that yourself with the digital one. So this is for, especially for the geography packages. At the moment, we've got the enhanced modules, as Simon said, for the GIS and the data analysis, both quantitative and qualitative. And then for the biology, we've also got some. So if I just show you an idea. So for biology, we've gone with big data and GIS and then data analysis. So the stats that lots of teachers don't want to teach, that's all in there. And then for the A-level geography, we've gone for GIS skills, qualitative data analysis. So again, that would include statistics, and then, qualitative data analysis looking at coding, and quantitative data analysis looking again at more sort of statistical analysis. And as Simon said, we're currently just putting the finishing touches on a GCSE enhancement, which is going to look at so the skills needed to answer those unfamiliar or unseen fieldwork questions in the exam, because we know that obviously taking out the requirement for fieldwork but then keeping in the unfamiliar questions means that there's a gap there for students, and they're going to maybe find that quite difficult unless they've done lots of fieldwork already. So we're currently putting the finishing touches to that, and we'll be adding that to our suite of digital packages by the end of this week. So that's it for the digital and advanced digital, apart from just to show you one of the story maps. So for the advanced digital, we also have some story maps that the students might well, they will have access to and they might want to use in order to enhance that kind of introduction. So before doing the fieldwork, they might look at the story maps to get a feel of the place and the location of the study and all of the kind of background information. So I'll stop sharing again, and then I'm going to reshare when I've opened this story map. So bear with me for a moment. So this is our place fieldwork, and again, I've used the A-level place one just because it's kind of a nice one to be able to look at. So you'd have access to this, and this would be a kind of advanced digital part of the package in preparing students. So for example, this place A-level geography package is looking at Tenby, Pembrokeshire, very close to one of our centres, and it runs through all of the information that students might want and might need in order to kind of get used to the idea of what's going to happen in the fieldwork. So there's sort of history, there's a bit of what people think of the place and how it's represented. There's census data, there's sort of all different types of choropleth map and IMD data. I'll just kind of whiz through quite quickly because obviously there is a lot of information in here, and I don't want to kind of bore you with trying to look at it all, but there's loads of different sets of data that the students can get used to looking at, and there'll also be questions in their handout for them to try and interpret. So for example, if they're looking at ethnicity or place of birth, then they might be making up some kind of idea about the place. They might be looking at the characteristics of that area. There's crime information and so on and so on. So there's loads of different things in the advanced and digital packages, advanced digital and the digital packages. But as Simon said, those aren't the only things that we're offering. So we're also offering the blended learning as well. So if I just very quickly move on to thinking about the blended learning. So this is kind of the third level up. And you can see here that it's a sort of combination of those digital resources to introduce and follow up the session, but with that in real life fieldwork visit to one of our centres or a local field site. And as Simon said, we are in the process of setting up hubs in some of the bigger city areas that aren't very well kind of serviced by our centres currently. So we're looking at how we could maybe do rivers in some of the sort of bigger cities around the north, certainly. And in terms of this blended learning package, as a teacher, you would receive teacher guidance again, and then you would get the introduction and the follow-up resources, including the handouts. And those would be pre-recorded videos, the similar type to the digital stuff that we've already looked at. But then obviously, instead of preparing them for a fieldwork video, you're using those resources to prepare them for a fieldwork visit with one of our tutors. And then obviously that would involve actually doing the fieldwork and collecting data that you can then take back to use in that follow-up. And it will all kind of line up. So the data that you collect on your field trip will line up with the follow-up video that you would have been able to download, and it will all kind of match up together. So you can see the topics here are quite similar. For GCSE, we've gone for urban river coasts, and then for the A-level, we've gone with physical skills, human skills, and landscape interpretation, simply because we think that students are going to need lots of help, especially those going into NEAs and individual investigations, with the ideas and the skills that they need to work on, rather than the content which you could obviously teach yourselves. And you know, you don't necessarily have to be there, but it's those skills that they're going to need to really kind of broaden and deepen their understanding of how they're going to put this into an NEA for themselves. And again, with the biology courses, they're going to be focusing on the practical skills that are essential for understanding ecological sampling. So those kind of random samples and species diversity and transects and things like that. So again, you can see here an example of the kind of handout that would be used in the fieldwork session with the students. This one is a GCSE follow-up, and it would be kind of started obviously in the fieldwork visit and then carried on in that follow-up that you take away and do at school. And obviously it's really going to help those GCSE students to practice those AO3 and AO4 skills that they might be struggling with in a fieldwork context, but they are going to have to answer questions about in the exam. And then lastly then, we're going to look very quickly at level 4. And this is, again, as Simon mentioned, this outreach learning package. So we're talking here about us coming to you, as Simon already mentioned. And here we have now introduced primary as well. So you can see that we've gone for a kind of early years and key stage 1, and then a key stage 2 suite of sessions, so looking at things like seasons and plants in the early years, and then a bit more detailed of habitats and survival skills and things like that at the Key Stage 2. So this would involve a tutor coming to your school, and as Simon already mentioned, already kind of risk assessed and sorted, so it would sort of be turn up and teach. Obviously, there would be conditions necessary for you to think about. If you don't have any outdoor space, it would be quite hard to teach, and you don't have any habitats, it would be quite hard to teach. But we would be so it's negotiable to, if you have a park nearby or a nearby green space that you could use, or a nearby forest school area, then that would be useful as well for the sessions to run. And then for the secondary options, again, we've gone with very similar topics. So looking at, for biology A-level, we've gone with woodland, freshwater and grassland. For geography A-level, we've continued along the theme of physical skills and human skills and landscapes. And then for the GCSE, we've gone with ecosystems, rivers and coasts. Now, I imagine that some of you, or most of you, are already thinking there's not many schools that have a coastline or a river in their playground. Obviously, that is true, and we are aware of that. But what we're kind of trying to think here is that it's about the skills that are needed in order to do those fieldwork questions rather than the content of the topic, because you can teach that in class. So we're going to be introducing measurements and fieldwork skills without being in that actual fieldwork environment. So how to measure a river without being in a river. And obviously, if you could go to a river, then you'd probably be doing the blended learning session. So if you've got a nearby river that you might use, or if you're near a centre that you could go to a river, then that's great. Obviously, it'd be better to do that one. But if you can't, but you still want to practice those skills, then we've worked out ways of doing that. And that's going to be really useful for those unfamiliar questions that they're going to face in the exam. And again, with the A-level, it's going to be the skills that are going to help them to build up that toolkit to kind of base their investigation on, and then help them to sort of unpick themes and come up with ideas that might spark that NEA in their local environment. Okay, and then again, just a quick example, of one of the handouts. Oh, it doesn't want to show you. So the handout there showing you, or not showing you, a way in which we might use Gilbert's 8 ways of thinking to look at your local area in the school, or maybe emotion mapping, and those kind of things might help students to have ideas at A-level geography about how they might go on and investigate their local area. So that's all I've got time for. I'm aware that I've talked at you for a little while there. I hope it's been useful to you to see some of the ideas that we're working with. And in the absence of being able to actually teach fieldwork in a centre for a 5-day NEA course or a 4-day biology course or whatever you might normally do, then obviously this project is designed that the development of these resources, both digital and outreach, are hopefully going to fill that void until we can get back to normal. So I'm going to hand back over to Simon and stop sharing my screen, and he's just going to tell you a few more bits and pieces.
Thank you, Joe. That's great. I'm just last little bit really before we finish is just to explain about if you need any more advice or any more help. There we go. If any of the courses that we've talked through today are of interest to you, then obviously if you are interested in the digital courses that we have, you can go straight to our website, follow the links and purchase those immediately. But actually, if you're interested in the outreach or the blended, or you're not sure what might work for your school, then obviously we want to try and help you as much as possible. There is 2 ways of doing that. You can either contact us through our normal inquiries team, who will be able to guide you through some of our day courses at various sites, or you can contact individual centres. But if you go to the schools at field-studies-council.org address, then those people will be able to help you. But if you actually want to talk about what products or what courses might actually suit your students the best and your teaching, then we have set up our education advice team. And those are a group of our senior education staff who are able to schedule in a slot. If you email us or if you ring us, then basically what we'll do is we'll slot in a time and schedule that to fit in with your teaching. So either at the start of the day, at the middle of the day, or at the end of the day, we will come back to you and discuss all the different things and what you need as a school and what you've got open to you, and we'll try and find a solution for you. So that's ed.advice and then at field-studies-council.org. So really, it was just a case to say thank you very much for joining us today. And obviously, we do have a number of, like I say, of free resources online that aren't specifically tailored to any particular exams coming up, but are still useful. And you can go through our Field Studies Council YouTube channel or through Encounter EDU, who we work with for Fieldwork Live, to see some of those. And there are some great cool sort of sessions there for primary or secondary students. But if you're a primary teacher or a secondary teacher or sixth form or college or any other educational establishment, and you want to talk through anything that we've talked through today, we'll stay online for a few minutes on the chat. But otherwise, please do contact us as one of those email addresses, and we'll very happily help you to discuss what's right for you. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your days. Thank you.